Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So we were discussing in our last Wednesday class a verse from the Bhagavad Gita where Sri Krishna is telling Arjuna, Yatha prakashayati ekah kritsnam lokam imam ravihi kshetram kshetri tatha kritsnam prakashayati bharata. Yatha means just as, prakashayati illumines, just as one sun illumines the whole universe. Prakashayati illumines. Ekaha kritsnam, the entire solar system, the entire, all the worlds. Lokam means all the worlds, all the planets. Imam, this Ravihi, this sun which illumines the entire solar system, just like that. Kshetram, the body, the soul also does. The soul illumines the entire body. Bharata is the son of Bharata, that is Arjuna. So that is Bharata clan. Actually, he is the son of Pandu, but when he says Bharata, means one who belongs to the clan of the lineage of Bharata Muni. So that is the idea. So the meaning of this verse is that just as one sun illumines the entire solar system, so does the soul illumine the entire body. The self, the witness of all changes we discussed, is changeless, and that is why it is birthless, growthless, decayless, deathless, and inseparable from the self of the universe. The Paramatma and Atman are actually one, but because of our ego, we see it as separate. But just the light of the Atman illumines, just as the sun, which is at the center of the solar this thing. I mean, the whole so planets, all the different planets are illumined by the sun in the solar system. So also the individual soul, which is nothing but part of the supreme soul, illumines the body with consciousness. The body, the mind, and all the pranas, they are not conscious by themselves. They are just reflecting the consciousness of the supreme soul, which in our body is the Pratyagatman, or the individual soul. Ultimately, you will see that it is the individual soul is part of the supreme soul or Paramatman, and there is hardly any difference. The difference is between Jiva and Shiva, or Jiva and the supreme soul, is because of Maya, because of ignorance. Now we will see. So the knowing self inside us, there is a knowing self, which is also known as Jivatma, is the sole ruler of the psychophysical organism. Psycho means the mental, the mind, the different aspects of the mind, the different pranas, the different sense organs, and also the gross body. Everything is illumined. Just as the sun illumines the solar system, the Jivatma, the pure consciousness of the Jivatma, illumines all these things. So it is not that the ears hear. When we say I am hearing, I may be hearing through the ear, but it is not the ears that hear. It is not the eyes that see. It is not the mouth that speaks or the hands that work. The mind thinks, the vital principle or the prana animates the body. They don't do. The fact is that it is this indwelling self, luminous self, that hears through the ears, sees through the eyes, speaks through the mouth. Who is that? Because when the body dies, when a human being dies, why does it not speak? If the eyes were speaking or eyes were watching, if one were able to see through the eyes, the prana might have gone. But if the organs are there, and still one cannot see one is dead. That means the soul, the luminous self, has left the body. It is not illumining the whole body as the sun illumines. When the sun sets, the objects all are there, but there's no light. We cannot see unless we have an artificial light, of course. So similarly, it is the eyes, the self that hears through the ears, that, and this is a Upanishadic verse. We will come to that verse now. So through the hands, through it thinks through the mind and enlivens the body through the vital principle or prana. So a person, Shankaracharya says, that's why person says, I hear, I see, I speak, I breathe. But it is the self that is seeing. It is the self that is breathing, the self that is living. Basically, it is one and the same I that asserts itself through the various sense perception, bodily activities, our mental operations, our vital processes like breathing, which are going on even while we are asleep. So it is the power of the light of the Atman that shines even when we are asleep. Otherwise, sleep and death, there would have been no difference. In the death, because we don't have the prana leaves, the subtle body leaves the gross body, we say it is death, but still the subtle body continues to live with a little bit of prana, which serves as a vehicle. So that is why when in Indian languages, in different languages, we say the prana has left the body. We don't say the soul has left the body. The soul is still there. Only the prana leaves the body, and it looks, the udana prana takes the subtle body, all our karma shaya, whatever we have done in this life and in the past life, and the sum total of all the impressions, which is our baggage for this, the journey in this world. We have come with a baggage. So that is why the Upanishads say, lighten that baggage. Don't carry too much of baggage, otherwise you can't enjoy the world. You can't live in this world. If a person travels with too much baggage, it is a big headache. So we are traveling with so much of accumulated karma of so many lives. We have to lessen it. That is what yoga says. The karma shaya burden has to be lessened. You have to travel light, as they say. In the American language, they said, do travel light. If you want to really enjoy your trip, you have to travel light. You can't be traveling with a huge baggage. Then you will not be able to complete your journey if your whole energy is spent with the baggage that you are carrying. So when the soul leaves, when the prana leaves the body, the prana has to carry the baggage, the weight of all our karmas. So to lessen the effects of the karma, we practice yoga. The karma shaya is directly or indirectly, it can be compared to a baggage, the bag which we carry of the things that we need, the things that will decide our jati, ayu and bhoga of the next life. Not a single action will be lost. Everything will be stored, as in the computer. Unless you delete everything, the computer will store every data. The hard disk will save every action, every operation that you have done on the computer will be stored. It cannot be destroyed unless you destroy the data. Destroying the data is like destroying the karma. That is, through yoga, you burn the seeds of karma, of future karma. The karma shaya or the future karma decides the jati, in what species you will be born, as a man or a woman, as a sick man, as a person with a disability or a healthy person. Everything jati. Jati is not just caste. It means the species. The individual either is born in a strong body or a weak body, in which area, which ethnicity, how is he born, everything is decided by your karma. The karma shaya, jati, ayu, and the lifespan, how long you will live, how long does a person will live, it is all fixed because of the past karma. So jati, ayu and bhoga. Bhoga is the experiences. What will we experience? Suppose I live for 100 years. What will be the experiences? The childhood experiences, the middle age experiences, the old age experiences, everything has been decided by our previous karma. So that is why we have no reason to complain. If we carry a heavy baggage, it is our problem. Who asked us to carry? We have to travel light. That is what the Upanishad says. The Upanishad says, you think I am doing, I am working, I am in trouble, I am in sorrow, oh, this thing has happened to me, my life is miserable. You start blaming the whole world. But no, it is because of our own karma that we have, the baggage that we have carried with us is what decides our future life. So not only this life, but the next life. So that is why Gita again and again warns the Jiva that be careful how you live. Every action and every good thing, it gives you a great hope. Arjuna is afraid that if I go on doing good and suddenly I die, what happens to my good actions? Will they be destroyed? Like the cloud which gets destroyed when there is rain. So Sri Krishna says, no, how will it be destroyed? Whatever little swalpamapyasya dharmasya, even if you have practiced a little bit of spirituality, of religion, and destroyed your karma, that is reduced your baggage, everything will go in your favor. You will be born with in a family of yogis, or you will be born in a good family. So not a single karma will be lost. That is what the Gita and the Upanishads, everything gives us hope, because we think we are doing, but it is the Atman, the soul, which illumines all our actions. So all the underlying varying functions of the organs, the mind, the prana, there is one constant entity which is the knowing self, the Jivatma. In fact, the organs, the mind, and the prana, the vital principle, are the instruments. Just as the charioteer, the owner of the chariot, he has a charioteer, he has horses, he has the reins, he has the carriage. They're all his instruments to conduct his journey of life. And if he, as they say, if you carry too much of luggage in that vehicle, that will make the journey more difficult. There is a chance of breakdown. So that is why the Chandogya Upanishad says, it is a big verse. It is in the 8th, 12th, 4th, 8, 12, 4. That is the number. So atha, yatra etat chakshu. Atha means then. The Chandogya Upanishad says 8, 12, 4. That is the verse which we will discuss now. So you see, the science of human possibilities which we are discussing, it is based on the verses which are there in the Upanishads. I'm not just saying something out of my own whims and fancy. Everywhere I'll try to give the reference of what we are saying, because these Upanishads and these Vedas are our scriptures, and it's a collection of all the wonderful spiritual experiences of the great seers. So if you tally with them and then you try to analyze rationally, then your argument or whatever you want to prove or whatever you want to understand about yourself, about the human possibilities, about our own life, what we should be doing with this body, what we should be doing with our relationship with others, what should we be doing with our sense organs, at what age should we start thinking about these spiritual matters, because there's no guarantee till what our ayu, our life is fixed. You can't ask for an extension. You can't ask. Everybody has his ayu fixed, jati fixed. We can't change our position, we can't change our family, we can't change our relatives. We have to complete this journey in the chariot that has been given to us, the body that has been given to us, with the mind that has been given to us. And it has not been given arbitrarily. God is not partial to anybody. It is our own karma that determines our body, jati, our species. So we have nobody to blame. We have ourselves to blame. That is why that famous song is there. Dosh Karo Nai Goma. There is a beautiful song. The saint says, I don't blame you. Dosh Karonai. I'm not blaming anybody in this world for my misery. I have myself dug the well. I have myself dug the well. I'm not able to come out of that. I have bound myself. I don't blame you, but I just pray to you, O Divine Mother, to rescue me from this deep well. So, Dosh Karonai, so that saint who has composed this song is pleading with mother. He said, I know it is my fault. I have dug a well without thinking. I have dug my own well, that as they say in English, digging one's own grave. So when we commit mistakes, we are digging our own well. And when the well has become very deep, we want to come out of that. And we find that age is not on our side. Everything we should have done at the right age. We should have created a ladder so that we can, after digging the well, we could have come out. But unfortunately, we went on digging our own, the well of our own fate. And then now we are helpless and the waters are started coming now. Yeah, so the waters will drown you. So that poet says in a very, very pathetic tone, oh mother, now you are my only hope. I have no one else to blame because I have dug my own well and the waters are coming now. Kala Rupi. Kala means the time is going away. So every day, every second, the Kala is trying to drown us. That is the metaphor that poet is giving. It's a beautiful poem. It is such deeply philosophical. So he says, Kala Rupi Jal. Kala Rupi Jal means that water which is come in the form of time. Kala, as Bhagavad Gita also Arjuna says, it is the Kala that will drown every one of us. We can't win a battle with Kala. You can't become younger. Day by day, we are growing older. So that is why that poet, that saint is telling the Divine Mother, I am not blaming you. I have, with my own hands, I have dug a deep well and the waters, dark waters have started coming and I'll be drowned. So if you do not save me, who else will save? So that is the idea. The Chandogya Upanishad again says, Ataha. So that is what the Upanishads, all the scriptures, the Gita, and the great Bhakti literature, everything points out to this fact that if you want immortality, you have to begin early in life. You have to think deeply about these human possibilities. We spend so much of time trying to, uh, trying to enhance our academic possibilities, our skills, they are very good. We need them, but there is a limit. Then we need those things to live a decent life in this world. But after having acquired it, we should have some spare time for our higher possibilities. So the higher possibilities are also to be taken into consideration. Otherwise, we will be like that Dasharathi, that famous poet who says, Dosh Karo Nai Goma, I'm not blaming you. I've dug my well. Now the waters are coming. Now tell me, O Mother, O Divine Mother, if you don't pull me out of the well, I will drown. So that stage should not come. We have to take precautions. So that is why the Upanishads and the Gita and everything tells us these great truths. And to explore the other possibilities while we are still young, while we are, Nachiketa was hardly 13 when he wanted to know the secret of death. The Yama tried to tell him, you are a young boy, you just enjoy life. Why do you bother about all these things? You come to me perhaps when you are old. You are too young for this. He says, no, I don't want, you keep all the money and all the temptations that you are giving me. I don't want them. Because I know he saw his own father was being cheated, in the sense he was cheating himself. He was drowning himself by doing all these wrong things. by giving old cows. So the young Nachiketa in the Upanishad, Kathopanishad says, I don't want to wait like my father till he becomes old, and still even after becoming old he is still so ritualistic that he doesn't know that unless he gets immortality while he is living, amrutatvam icchan. So if you want amrutatva, the Upanishad very clearly says you have to find out the other possibilities which human being, which God has given us. He has given us intellect, he has given us good health, maybe he has given us money. If our good karma is there, we have a good start in life, we have nothing to worry about. After having done that, even then, if we don't explore the other possibilities of our life, that is the higher possibilities, to find out the indwelling spirit, we try to discover so many things. But why can't we engage ourselves in a voyage or a discovery of the Atman? That is what the Upanishads promise us. Spiritual life means only that we have to spend some time during the day, no matter how busy we are. That is why we have these classes every day. 1 hour is not a big time. We are wasting so much of time. That's what I realized. Somebody said 1 hour, but if we can't spare 1 hour now, at some stage of our life, we have to spare at least 1 hour for ourselves. You see, there's people spend so much time for other things. But Bhagavan Buddha, as he said, that I am not selfish. I am not unselfish. You are unselfish. You are whole day, you are thinking of others, quarreling with others, doing all sorts of things, and you have no time for yourself. I am selfish because I am trying to find out my own reality, which is more urgent for us. So who is selfish? You are unselfish because you are sacrificing yourself. He told one man who said, who told Buddha that you are so unselfish, you have given up a big empire, you were a king, you have given up all this. He says, what is great in that? I am in search of myself. I have given up something which is of no use for me, because I know that is not going to save me. You are unselfish because you have given up the great treasure which is within for something temporary which is outside. So you are a greater, I should actually respect you by your suffering, by your misery. You are undergoing this suffering so that others can learn a lesson. So that is the idea. So the Upanishads again and again tries to tell us that try to think, where is the organ of vision? Yatra etat chakshuhu. Atha yatra etat chakshva. We see things. But where is this chakshu? Where is the vision? Who gives us the vision? Why can't a dead body or a person in coma can't see? Akasham anu vishannam, lying inside the space in the eye. There is a subtle eye, the eye behind the eye behind the physical eyes. It's not the eyes that see, it is something finer, akasha. The anu, which anu means very small, lying inside the space in the eye. Saha chakshusha purusha, that is the deity presiding over the eye. So the purusha, the internal soul, is seeing through the subtle eye which is inside the eye, the subtle eye, the subtle sense organ, that which leaves when we leave the body. When we leave the body, where does our eye go? Where does our visions, where does our different sense organs, the subtle organs come with us? The gross organs are left behind. That is cremated. That is buried. But what happens to the subtle organs with which we saw, which enables us to see, lying inside the space? Sa chakshu shaha purusha. That is the deity presiding over the eye. So darshanaya chakshuhu. The eye is the instrument of vision. The eye is the instrument of vision. To make it see, it is the akasham, anu vishannam, lying inside the eye. So it's just one example it is giving. The eye is the instrument of vision, and but it is not the eye that sees, it is the subtle eye, the subtle space in Akasha. The eye is the instrument. Atha, then, one who knows, Yah Veda, one who knows, Idam, Iti, Jigrani, that I smell this. Jigrani means I am smelling some nice smell. So Atma, that is the self. It is the self which is experiencing all these things. It's not the eye or the nose or the ear. That is what the Vedas are trying to tell us, what is essential within us. The external eye, if it is everything, then what happens when you die, when you are in coma, when you are sleeping? Still you see dreams. So there is a subtle eye, a subtle smell organ. The organ of smell is the instrument of smelling. Ataha Yaha Veda, one who knows this, idam abhivyaharani iti. I speak this. So the mouth speaks. So Atma, that is the self, one who speaks, not the mouth. The mouth is not the Atma. The ear is not the Atma. That is not the supreme, that the Jivatma. Abhivyaharaya vak. The organ of speech is the instrument of speaking. Then Yah Veda, one who knows this. Idam Shrunvani iti. I hear this. So hearing, speaking, smelling, seeing. So the meaning of this verse, Shravanaya Shrotram. The ear is the instrument of hearing. So the meaning of this verse, the Upanishad tells us, is that he who is in this body, ourself, our Jivatma, knows, he knows that I am smelling this, is the self. For this, his smelling is the nose. He who knows, I say this, for his speaking is the organ of speech. He uses the organ of speech as an instrument to speak. But the one who speaks is not the mouth. Mouth is just an instrument. He who knows, I hear this, is the self. For his hearing is the ear. Indeed, the one central principle that unifies all our bodily activities, hearings, speaking, we have to analyze like this. When we are speaking, when we are hearing, that ego which says, I am hearing, I get upset when I hear something bad. No, it is the self that is hearing everything. The central principle that unifies all our bodily activities, all our sense perceptions, all mental operations, our happiness, our joy, our depression, our the joy that we get sometimes and the sorrow that we get some other time, all those are mental operations are seen by the seer. All the vital processes, our good health, our bad health, our digestion, everything, the vital prana which is running the body, even that is experienced by the individual in an individual, in a particular individual whom we say as I, but it is the self which is doing it. So the self has to be discovered. Where is my self? What is my self? Which is seeing, which is hearing, which is smelling, which is doing all the actions, which is the heart is beating. So it is the self that is distinct. We have to remember it is distinct from the organs that a person can have experiences such as I see, I hear the speaker, I smell and touch the flower, I taste the food, all these things which we do, we have to analyze and find that the self that we are trying to realize in our hearts, in the center of our consciousness or the heart, is what should be the goal of life. From these instances, the Upanishad says it is evident that there is only one individual who is the experiencer of sound. It is not that one individual hears the sound, another individual within us smells. No, it is the same individual which sees, which is the experiencer of all the sounds, all the sights, all the touches, all the taste and smell through the different organs. Otherwise, how would we have memory? Because we have experienced, because our own self, the unified self, has experienced all these things. Even in sleep, the memory of his sound, sight, touch, taste, and smell through the different organs, though the external organs are sleeping. In a dream state, all your organs are sleeping, even in a sleeping state. So when you are in deep sleep or in dream, the organs are not active. Still you are able to see, still in the dream you are able to touch. You at least you feel that you are really participating in the dream world. There are people, there are instances, there is nightmare, you see tigers, you see lions, you see other people, many things happen, though they are not connected directly with the external world, but it is our memory. It is the self which has seen all the external things, including the movies that we see, the television that we see, the sights that we see, not only in this birth, but the previous birth. All of them do not vanish. These experiences are stored in the chitta and we see them during the dream. So who is that person? Who is that self? What is that self? That is to be discovered. That is the goal of the Upanishads. So the experience that underlies the diverse organs, they cannot be identified. This is the point, very important point to understand. So we cannot identify the experience with any of our organs. They are just conveying. They are just conducting. They are conveying the information to the self. The self is the enjoyer or the experiencer. That is one important thing you have to remember. Therefore, the self, the Upanishad again and again through different Upanishads, different verses, we get this experience, and that unified experience which we feel is the Atman. So now, having come to this stage, we have to argue, we have to try to find out, discriminate what is that survives the body, what is that which will give us immortality. A person can visualize with eyes closed what he sees with the eyes open. This is an everyday fact. This shows that the eyes are not the actual seers. If eyes were the real seers, one who experiences this world outside, then when we close the eyes, how can we experience? When you visualize, when you are asked by your guru to meditate on the Lord inside, you see the photo outside, the Ishta outside, Krishna, Rama, or any other god. And then when you close your eyes, you imagine, you perceive that same Krishna or same Rama inside your heart. So you see with your eyes closed, you see with your eyes open. That shows the eyes are not, the external eyes are not the seers. There is something other than the physical eyes that sees. That which visualizes the sight with the eyes closed must have seen it with the eyes open also. Had the sense organs, which are known as Gyanendriyas, if they had been the actual seers or the perceivers, then all these acts of recognition like desire, I want to eat, I want to do this is the house I heard about. You have not seen, you have heard about a house, you see a picture and then you recollect what you had seen. Or maybe you see some food. Oh, I see the food. This is the food I tasted yesterday. So because that memory is still there. So somebody has watched or tasted the food yesterday, and when it sees the food today and wants to taste it, or you see a garment which you saw yesterday in the shop, so this is what I wanted to buy yesterday. It would not have happened. Shankara says it is not proper. Shankara is commenting on this Upanishad. He says it is not proper to conceive that each organ is an experiencer, separate experiencer. If we think eyes sees separately, the ears hear separately, in that case it would be impossible to relate memory, perception, wishes, desire, and all the things that we do in a very subtle way. When you close our eyes, when there is no smell, we still smell. One and the same subject, the same person does all these things. With eyes open or eyes closed, he sees. With ears open or ears away from that noise, he still can hear noise. He can remember the noise of the bell which he has heard, or somebody's song which he has heard, the japa that he has heard from his guru. He has heard the japa once through the mouth of the guru, and he has heard through his ears, but now he is repeating it in his mind. A silent japa is going on. How is he doing it? He is doing it because the self which has experienced the sound of the mantra when the guru gave it, he is experiencing it in a subtle way. So what one person has perceived, another cannot recollect or know or desire or recognize. Therefore, none of the organs can be regarded as an experiencer. So that clearly shows that the organs, the external organs, are not the experiencer. What are we? If the sense organs were actual perceivers, then the motor organs were karma, which are known as karmendriyas. If they were doing the actions themselves, then there would have been a number of cells in an individual. Then you would have said, oh, something inside me saw, something inside me, somebody else inside me heard, somebody else inside me did the action. So you can't blame one person, because there are many people. In fact, that story is told by Sri Ramakrishna. A gardener was, Sri Ramakrishna told all these beautiful, explained such deep truths in giving a wonderful example. You see, there is a deity for each. There is a deity for our hand. That is how so some people misuse that. So one gardener made a lovely garden, and some cow managed to come in and started eating all the plants which he had grown. So he was so upset that he took a big stick and beat the cow. The cow died. And in India, you know, go hatya is a very big sin. So somebody came and asked him, oh, you have done go hatya, it's such a big sin. He says, I didn't do. You see, my hands, they are ruled by Indra. Indra is the person who is the guardian deity of, that is what Indian mythology believes. So he wanted to shift his blame. He didn't want to take the blame of killing the cow. So he said, it is Indra who has killed. My hands were helpless. I didn't want to kill the cow, but Indra literally forced. That is what we normally do. When somebody blames us, we just try to shift the blame on somebody else. So this Brahmin, this gardener, when he was to be blamed, he said, I am not to be blamed. It is my hand. And the hand is controlled by Indra. So you blame Indra. So Indra was very angry. He said, okay, I will teach him a lesson. So Indra came down. This is Sri Ramakrishna's parable. He used to tell this story. So Indra came down disguised as a Brahmin, and he asked this gardener, oh, what a wonderful garden you have made. Who has made it? I don't think you have made this. He said, no, I have made it with my own hands. So now when somebody is appreciating your garden, you say, I have done with my own hands. You take the ownership. But when you kill a cow, you don't want to take the ownership. When you do something good, I have done it. When you do something bad, somebody else, Indra, has done it. So that is the karmendriyas, the gyanendriyas, with which we see, hear, smell, taste, and also do our actions. They are not the actual doers. It is one self which is doing all this. That is why it is our own responsibility. Man is the maker of his own destiny. We can't blame anybody for our karma. We can't shift our responsibility to somebody else. The Kenopanishad, which is another Upanishad, I will discuss this and then we'll have some question answers. The Kena Upanishad begins with this question. Om Kene Shitam Patati Preshitam Manaha Kena Pranaha Pratamaha Praiti Yuktaha Kene Shitam Vacham Imam Vadanti Chakshu Shrotram Ka Udevo Yunakti. By whom? Willed and directed. There is somebody inside us who wills and directs us, directs the mind to proceed towards the object. This is a question asked in the Kenopanishad. The Kenopanishad begins with this. It's a wonderful Upanishad where all our actions are analyzed. We just can't blame anybody and everybody for our misery or for our fortune. We are the makers of our own destiny. That self within is doing all this. So the rishi or the student is asking the guru, Keneshitam, by whom? Who is willing? Who is giving us the willpower and directing our mind to do something? I see a sweet lying on the table. If I have control, I know I have diabetes, I should not eat that. But something happens, then I go and take that sweet and put it in my mouth. So who directs the mind to strengthen the will to take it? If there was no will to pick it up and put it in the mouth, I would not have done it. My mind would not have been directed. Even if I had seen the sweet, I would not have eaten it. So what makes our willpower work? What directs our mind to proceed towards the object that we are seeing? By whom engaged does this vital principle or prana within us do its duty? Who is motivating the prana? Who is motivating the prana to beat the heart, to pump the lungs? The lungs are pumping constantly. It is also a prana. Our digestion, assimilation, breathing, everything is done. So who is prompting the prana? Who is prompting the mind to do certain things? And who is prompting the prana to perform its duty? At whose will do men utter speech? Why do I sometimes say something stupid which hurts everybody? Why can't I control my tongue? By whose will do men utter speech? Then the next question is, who is the effulgent one that directs the eyes and the ears? So I hear, so in general, this Upanishad is asking, how does our prana, how do we function? Who is the person who decides how we live in this life? Without knowing that, it is like riding a car without knowing who the owner is. The car is running randomly. That is what our lives are. Our lives are so haphazard that we do not know the owner. And how can we have to know who is doing all these things, who is inspiring, who is making us do all these things. Are we helpless instruments in the hands of nature or Prakriti? If that is so, then we are no better than animals. It is a very, very pitiable state that we are at the mercy of the outer forces. We cannot give directions to ourselves. We can't tell the mind, don't be sorrowful, be happy. Can we do that? We go on complaining that my mind is depressed, I want this, I want that. And we can't say that we are the masters of our own mind because we have not found the self. The reason why Upanishads should be studied, to find out from where the instructions come, who is the master of our personality. That possibility is the human possibility that we are set out to discover. We have to discover that why does nature say cry and I start crying? Why does certain incidents make me sorrowful? And I don't want to enjoy or suffer misery, but still I can't help it. The misery goes on and on and on. I go on complaining to everybody that they see this is, I want some kind of self-pity. I indulge in some kind of self-pity and expect others to just console me, saying that this has happened to me, I didn't deserve, why did this thing? Because we do not know who is making us do all these things, why these things are coming to us, why people are behaving in a particular way with us, why we are behaving in a particular way with other people, which gives rise to problems. So whose will does the men utter their speech? As Duryodhana told Krishna that I know what is wrong, but I cannot help it. I am just going on doing bad things one after another. So also the Kenopanishad asks, who is doing all these things, which directs the eyes to see this, ears to hear, I know, hearing about faults of others, Holy Mother has said, if you listen to faults, you will get all those faults in yourself. So we think it is nice to hear somebody else's faults as long as they are not our own, but we don't realize that something makes us seek that company where fault finding and criticizing each other is going on, and that destroys us. So somebody is willing to do the things, the mind to behave in a particular way. Somebody is influencing the prana to behave in a particular way. Somebody is influencing our speech to speak in a particular way, good or bad, and we bear the consequences. So the answer is given in the next verse. Shrotrasya shrotram manoso manoyad vachoha vacham sa u pranasya pranaha चक्षुश्च चक्षुर अतिमुच्य धीरः अस्मात् लोकात् amruta bhavanti. Means the teacher now replies. He says, if you want, the teacher now is telling the student when he asked this question to his guru. So he says, it means the self. The self is the ear of the ear, your ear, the mind of your mind, the speech of the speech, the life of the life, the eye of the eye, having detached the self. But how do you realize that? Who is that owner? Who is your own owner of your house, your body, your personality? So how do you find him? To find him, you have to detach the self from the sense organs. A person who has detached, to the extent he detaches, he can find the owner. If he is busy with the organs, if he is busy with the whole thing, a person who has withdrawn himself from and tried to focus on the self within and renounce the world, given up the world, at least while he is meditating, the wise attain to immortality. That is the only way that you find that true self. So he, the luminous self, is the ear of the ear, the mind of the mind, the speech of the speech, the life of the life, and the eye of the eye. So this answer, the same answer is given in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad also. Here, of course, in Kena Upanishad, the student is asking the guru, how am I doing all these things? And still I don't know why I am doing all these things, what I am doing. Am I eternally going to be helpless creature in this world? Have I to spend all my life drowning in the depth of sorrow and sometimes going up, happy sometime, drowning? It's going on in this cycle of sorrow and death and happiness, death, life, it's going on. So should I try something? Should I explore the possibilities that the student is asking the guru, so that I can understand immortality? So the guru is giving the answer, how it is to be realized. The Brihadaranyaka also says, pranasya pranamuta chakshuscha chakshu ruta shrotrasya shrotam manaso ye mano vidu. So that is, it said, te nichikyur brahma punar puranam agryam. Agryam means the primordial. Agryam means that which existed in. So those who have known this secret, known the vital force of the vital force, that is prana, pranasya prana, eye of the eye, chakshush cha, chakshush, the ear of the eye of the eye, the ear of the ear. Chakshu means eye. Shrotrasya shrotram, that is the ear of the ear, and the mind of the mind. If they have understood this subtle truth, if they have, through meditation, then they will realize, they have realized the ancient primordial Brahman, the self within. So the life of the life, the prana of the prana, the eye of the eye, the ear of the ear, the mind of the mind. The point here is the body, the organs, the mind, the vital principle, they are themselves devoid of any consciousness. They are jada. They fall into the category of non-intelligent or inanimate objects. And they are not self-operative. A dead body may have all the ears, everything may be there, but it is not doing anything because there is no conscious spirit. The category, it cannot be self-operative. A body is self-operative only when the Atma, shining Atma is there. The conscious spirit is illuminating it. The luminous self varies, but not the cognizer. The external objects vary. Sometimes we see, when we become blind, we may not see, or we may use specs to see clearly. The external change, the bodily conditions and mental states may vary. A person may be happy now, sorrowful after some time. But at the same time, the self does not change. The experiencer does not change. Only the external things change. And one who realizes that, the Upanishad says, the Vedanta Upanishad says, he is the one who realizes this ancient primordial Brahman. He is not new. He is not born when we are born. He is eternally present within us, within everybody. So, the bodily conditions and the mental states vary. The functions of the organs and the mind also may vary. There are also variations in our biological processes. Sometimes we are sick, sometimes we are healthy. But the luminous self is a witness of all our different states. No matter what state, I am the one who was unhappy. I have the power to make myself happy, blissful. I was the one who was bound. I can free myself. So that song which I referred to earlier, Dosh Karo Nai Goma, I have dug my well. Now, since I can't come out myself, I am praying to the Divine Mother. That is another way. When we surrender, Upanishads, of course, says you take the whole blame yourself and you are the master of your own destiny. But the devotional literature, when the individual self is unable to save himself, he attaches himself to the Supreme Self or the Divine Mother or the Param Purusha or Ishvara, and he pulls you out of trouble. So there are variations in the biological process, variation in our mental states, but a change, all the luminous self has to be there. The unchanging observer who relates all the succeeding event with the preceding one, our past with our present and with our future. We anticipate some future. Who is the one who is worried about the future? I am worried because I think if I am sick now, what will happen to me after tomorrow or day after tomorrow? That worry, that anxiety comes because we are relating ourselves with the body, with the mind, with the changing thing, and that is always suffering. So, an unchanging observer who is observing all these various states, if we reach that, in case the observer varies in the interim, the change cannot be recognized. You can't keep on changing within. The Atman does not change. Being the observer of all variations, the self is beyond all change. He must be, if any of the variables are there, if he is temporary, then the self also will be temporary, but that is not there. Therefore, the changing factors in our life of human personality can be none of the, I mean, not all, none of the changing factors you can attribute to the self. So if you are sorry that certain changes are happening which you don't like, you have to just rest on yourself and you will be at peace. That is what our sages discovered. So the reason why all these things are necessary to understand is that we should have a center of gravity within us. When you can detach yourself by reading these Upanishads, by meditating on the mantra given by your Guru, all these are different means to find out that self which is not affected by the changing things externally and in the body, in the mind, in the organs, and in the objects outside. That is the changing phenomena is giving us misery. It is giving us joys, our small misery. Everything is because of the change. But the real man That is the apparent man. Apparent man keeps on changing. He feels he's happy, he feels he's rich, he feels he's poor. But the real man himself, if you discover, he is steady. He does not change. There's another Upanishad which speaks about, gives the imagery of two birds. We don't have much time. One bird sitting on a branch, another bird sitting above. One is eating the bitter and sweet fruits of life, and the other bird, which is the supreme self, the self which is within, it doesn't want to. It is at peace. He says, I don't want bitter, I don't want the sweet fruits, and I don't want to fall sick, and it transcends the body. So that will come later, but here today we'll conclude now that uh, the ever distinct self, what we have now established through all these Upanishads and all, that there is a possibility, human possibility, and Vedanta tells there is a human possibility which will make you find out the real self even before you die, which is very essential. Otherwise, we will be coming again and again, and our jati, ayu, and bhoga, depending on the karmashaya, again will come with a baggage. So the best thing is to travel light, to lessen the baggage as much as possible. By that can be done by spiritual practices, that can be done by japa. So we destroy the seeds of our future trouble, and then finally you will reach a state where you are free. You are not bound by anything. You are not bound by the changing phenomena of the world. You are not bound by the changes that rapidly take place. Sometimes it is expected, sometimes unexpected things. The changes keep on happening, and that disturbs our balance, our steadiness, our stability. That stability can be found only in that unchanging, that intrinsic self which all the Upanishads speak about. That is the real function and the practical use of Vedanta. So that explores the possibility, can we do it while still alive, so that we can be free from all the trouble. That is the state known as moksha or jivan mukti. If it is done when you are still alive, it is known as jivan mukti. So I'll see if there are some questions and we'll conclude. Yeah. When a person is blind, why can't the inner light illuminate a blind man's sight and help the blind man see? Similarly, if a man loses his hearing ability, why can the inner light make him hear? A hearing aid helps. No, that is different. Here the question is not the inner light. It is based on previous experience. Now, there are certain blind people who, if they are born blind, for example, they have the memories of old karma which are there. A blind man, don't think a blind man can never see anything. He may be seeing, eyes may not be, he may not see objects, but he can imagine. With his mind's eye, he can see. So, similarly, hearing aid is just strengthening the power of hearing, that's all. But it is the conscious self that makes that hearing possible. So no matter, can you put a hearing aid in a dead man and make him hear? You cannot. You can make a blind man try to see with his touch, with his other organs, he can perceive things. Otherwise, how do you think Helen Keller and all these great blind people, how do they play music? And they can perceive. They may not be able to see the new things because they have been born blind, or maybe if they have become blind after a certain age, then the memory of what they have seen is still there. But in case of people who are totally blind, they still have the memory of their past lives, and that gives them idea as soon as they see things. That is why they have these super talents, these blind people. So also hearing. Now, similarly, if a person is paralyzed due to stroke, how come the inner power, as you say, is doing everything, make the man are saying, make the man move his limbs? So, if he is paralyzed, maybe his nervous system, if it is fully disabled, I mean it fully, sometimes there are twitches. These people even make some movements and the heart moves. In fact, people who are paralyzed, maybe their motor organs are paralyzed, but the heart is not paralyzed, otherwise he will die. So the inner power, it is not the inner power. You should make a distinction between the seer and the inner power. The subtle powers are also gross. The prana that moves the body, the subtle organs, which are fine organs, they are still material. So whether you put a hearing aid or whether you hear by closing your, by, even if you are deaf, you hear internal sounds, the tingling sound of based on past memory. The hearing, whether it is gross or subtle, is watched by the supreme self, the conscious self. That is what you have to attain. The other things are absolutely absurd. It is just as absurd as trying to put a earphone on a corpse, a body which is dead. We don't do that. But the thing is, the conscious self is the one who illumines. If he doesn't have a gross body or a gross ear, he has a gross body, he has a gross ear, his ear have been dumb, still he hears certain internal sounds, he can visualize. So he can hear those sound. That is what you do when you repeat the japa. You are not hearing the mantra, but still the mantra is going on. Where is it being heard? You are hearing the sound, a subtle sound. These things have to be, these sense organs have to be trained to be subtle. Unfortunately, we don't train our children to do all these things. So whether you have a good sense organ or not, you are not dependent on that. Even if you don't see the Ishta, for some reason you go blind, you just close your eyes, the Ishta is on. Surdas, for example. Surdas, when he went to the temple in Vrindavan, he used to exactly tell the color of what Krishna was wearing. He had that subtle sense. He knew, through his mind's eye, he could see. That is why he could write such beautiful songs of description of the beautiful visions he had of Krishna. Surdas was blind. Similarly, all the other organs. Now, can we really withdraw ourselves from our senses? It's not a question of withdrawing. We cannot, if we fully withdraw, we will be in samadhi. But we have to withdraw to the extent that it helps us some kind of mental peace. Even to withdraw a little helps a lot. Nobody can withdraw fully. If you are fully withdrawn, if you are totally immersed in your own self, then it is a state of samadhi. But before that, there are different levels. It's a constant fight. The more you withdraw, the more you will have peace. If you want peace, you withdraw. If you don't want, let it go out. Nobody forces. Spirituality is not something which is a compulsion. It is a choice we have to make. If I say I don't want to withdraw, I want to expose myself. Some people say I don't want to withdraw. I want to be just more and more active. And I want to be more and more extrovert and get more and more blows, get more and more suffering. If they are happy, then what can we say? It is their choice. That is why Holy Mother said, if you want peace of mind, that is a condition. If you want peace of mind, don't see others' fault. But if you don't want peace of mind, if you want to suffer, then who can stop you? You see the faults of everybody, your own, other than your own, you go on seeing others' faults, there's no problem at all. Problem is only when you lose your peace of mind, when things become unbearable. So Mother says, if you want peace of mind, don't see the fault of others. So also, if you want some kind of stability, some kind of security, if you want to realize the inner self, then there is only one way. You, just as Jesus said, the kingdom of God is within you. It cannot be without. No matter how much you go, how much money you have, how many wonderful sense organs you have a very good sight, very good health. No, the self cannot be found outside. That is the problem. That is the miracle. Kathopanishad says that is how the Lord has cheated us. by making us go outward. So it is definitely we can withdraw our, so slowly we can withdraw. Just don't expose them. Don't expose the senses to the things which are really not required. There are certain things which we have to day duties, we have to expose them, but don't overexpose them. That is the idea. The idea is how much you can afford to overexpose the senses to external objects. To that extent, you will lose your peace. So the choice is ours. How much peace we want, how much of joy we want, internal joy we want. Yes, there's one more message here. It's a very empowering message. You reminded us that we, for our karmas, the makers of the destiny in this body-mind complex, and we shouldn't be shirking responsible by stating सब भगवान की इच्छा है or questioning why this misfortune befall upon me. Yes, it is true. When we take the responsibility, we feel like doing something about it. We don't waste time. We start our spiritual practices. We start our inner journey. And the second thing, as we lighten our luggage, we shed our baggage a little bit, little by little, so that we don't have our inner journey becomes smooth. You have to travel light to successfully negotiate our life, our journey. Okay. I do not know about my prarabdha karma which is carried forward to this life from my previous life. Can I still get moksha in this life? By everybody has to believe that. See, we do not know how much of prarabdha or what karma, what baggage. Our jati, our ayu, our bhog experiences will all depend on our past. So there's no way anybody can tell you that whether you will get, unless one is an avatara, nobody can tell you whether we'll get moksha in this life. By doing japa and upasana, you can lessen the effects. As Holy Mother said, suppose because of your karma, you were destined to receive a wound of a sword. A sword would have hit you because that was your karma and you would have got a wound of a sword wound. You will escape with a small pin prick. A small pin will prick. So that is the effect of japa. It can lessen the impact. It can lessen the impact of our karma. Definitely it helps through japa and upasana in this life, but one has to do it. It has to be done by one's own self. One has to exert very hard to do it. Yeah. So I'll take your leave now. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.